Welcome to Listertainment, the channel that might entertain you. We've all seen great defensive minds like Mayweather Jr. or Jones Jr. just dodging punches like they have some sort of force field. But this video is all about fighters who thought that they could do the same thing and dodge hits like the all-time greats. But it didn't turn out the way they thought, and they actually got blasted into unconsciousness. Let's just get this started. This guy thought he was the perfect dodger and would drop his hands, but if you pay attention, his reflexes are terrible. He's late reacting to every single attack and gets hit almost every single time. At one point, he acknowledges that he is getting hit, but that his body is as hard as steel, so the punches aren't doing any damage. Seriously, it looks like this guy is like on a half-second delay. He also doesn't anticipate anything. He's just all about reactionary dodging, which is extremely hard to do. I think he thinks he's a superhero or something. Eventually, the fight is stopped during one of those failed rope-a-dope moments. Usually fighters who fight in a cocky way are on the lighter side because they have to have the quickness to actually dodge hits or the endurance to last the entire fight with all the movements and energy required to avoid getting hit. This guy, he didn't have any of that. He blocks two kicks really well, and he really starts to get cocky, dropping his hands, but he's so far away from his opponent that he doesn't actually dodge anything. Then it goes to his head even more when he asks his opponent to come at him, and that's when the kick actually lands. He survived that kick somehow, but all those movements finally tired him out. He just wanted to lay on the canvas, and well, the referee had to stop the fight since he kind of went into turtle mode. Fighting with your hands down is a really hard thing to do. Your reflexes have to be out of this world. This guy really thought he had it all, but he lacked the reflexes. And also, very importantly, when boxing with your hands down, you have to know how to work your distance. These guys were way too close, and this man had to use more than just backing up to try and get him to miss. It's almost like he forgot where he was, because he didn't really move at all. He kind of pulled back a little bit, but it was of no help. He was not expecting that lunging left hook at all, and let's be honest, he doesn't have the reflexes to actually avoid it, even if he knew it was coming. This Muay Thai fighter had a great moment in this fight. He dodges a head kick beautifully, and he thinks he's out of the woods, so it's time to counter, but his opponent is the one that actually knows how to dodge. The guy in red is the real genius. He misses that kick after a good dodge, but the other fighter really tries to dodge really hard, as opposed to him, who slowly moves his upper body out of the way of that counter kick and smoothly lands the leg sweep. It was so perfect, almost like he planned this whole sequence, almost like he baited him. Braulio Rodriguez was getting clobbered by Ryan Garcia, and he was trying to maybe pump himself up by dancing around and trying to dodge the incoming barrage against the ropes. But the hits, they just kept on hitting him.
Garcia is walking him down. He's going, yeah, this is what I expected.
Rodriguez trying to...
He would come out of those exchanges smiling like he didn't get hit once with his incredible rubber neck and waist, but he would cover up pretty fast as soon as Garcia got in close, which signals that he was getting hit a ton of times. Rodriguez had a ton of trouble with Garcia's length, and when he tried to get in close, he would just get countered, and that's how the knockout came about.
How did he weather that? Another one. And a hook, and down he goes.
He was actually covering up when that KO punch landed. Maybe he should have just stuck to the trying to dodge. Nah man, just kidding. He was going to get finished no matter what. This boxer is trying to show off and fight with his hands down, but he quickly gets yelled at by his coach to put them up, since he knows him best and knows that he is not good enough to dodge hits using just his head and waist movement. He continues to try and lower his hands, and then this part, he gets connected with such a good punch that he backs up with his hands completely down. I can't tell if he's actually hurt or he's trying to show that it didn't hurt him at all, and maybe he's being cocky with that head shake at the end. He ends up with his back against the ropes, trying to dodge and counter, but you know what happens next.
Use the jab!
He actually forgot to dodge at all. He thought he was going to get that punch in faster, but instead he just put his head up high like a speed bag. Brendan Lambert is a guy who thinks he's good enough to fight with his hands down, but he's not good enough to fight at an amateur level at all.
Up the ring. Reyes talking.
Just yelling and screaming right there. He's wasting.
He is much taller and longer than Grant, but throughout the fight, he never learned the correct distance, and he was left exposed at the end of the fight.
I don't think he's getting up. He's going to say it was the back of the head. That was a shot to the eye that hurt him.
That is it! The win! Now 3-0!
Lambert doesn't have the training to be fighting professionally, and all his hands-down bravado, thinking he can dodge like Roy Jones Jr., was quickly shown to be just an act. Emmanuel Augustus was one of the best dodgers of all time, especially using his drunken boxing, and this guy was trying to copy his greatness. This guy lacks the flow that will make drunken boxing work. He's too stiff, especially when the other guy is throwing punches, almost like he doesn't trust that he will actually be able to dodge using drunken boxing. Augustus completely committed to it and made for great moments of the other guy missing their shots. This guy just goes back to his regular boxing knowledge when it comes time to defense and punching. He doesn't incorporate that drunken boxing movement into these facets, and he uses it more as a selling point or just a distraction. Tony Bellew is a pretty good boxer, but if you're facing off against the undisputed cruiserweight champion in Aleksander Usyk, maybe you should try and put those hands up instead of thinking that you can just dodge all of his punches. Bellew did a pretty good job for a while, but Usyk's pressure will eventually get to you, and he will start landing more and more clean shots, especially when Bellew starts getting tired, until Usyk eventually closes him out. Usyk's ability to get great angles on Bellew negated his dodging a ton, and even made Bellew give him his back a couple of times. What happens when you have a guy with fast hands and a strong-looking but slow boxer, both challenging each other to come and just trade shots?
He still needs some time to recover. Pascal just rings those left hands.
Well, obviously, that guy with faster hands is going to counter with perfect shots that quickly back up the other man. Man, is this guy slow. I think he might be slower than the fake muscled Jorge Kawagi in this fake fight. Then after getting connected with left hooks non-stop, he thinks that he might have learned it and started just dodging with his head, going straight back and doing a little rope-a-dope. You gotta keep that chin tucked, man, but this guy exposed it all night long.
And again, Pascal tagging him, and down he goes. Down he goes.
For some reason, when Jordan Powell fought against Dominic Reyes, he kind of discounted his strength and started to just dodge his hits, which, knowing Reyes, it did not turn out okay for Powell.
Oh, man. Oh, the big kibosh!
Of course, Powell had to add that little head shake right before getting the completely unblocked kick to the face. I don't think Powell actually dodged any of those punches at all, but he came out all cocky, claiming that he wasn't touched. And since there was a crowd cheering, he had to shut them down by saying it didn't hurt. And that little second of trying to make himself look good ended up making Reyes look like a genius instead. Let me know in the comments who you think is the best defensive fighter of all time. Who doesn't like to see a guy dropping his hands, thinking that he can dodge all the incoming hits, and then just get knocked out cold? Thanks for watching this video. See you next time.